What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut, and this is episode 24 of Lawns Across America. So welcome back, everyone. Really happy to have you back as we're strongly moving now into August. And one of the things about August in lawn care, especially with cool season lawns, and folks with cool season lawns, we're mostly going to focus on you this week. Warm season, hang in there, though, because I've got plenty coming for you. It's just that you have a little bit more time before you need to start changing up your strategy, whereas cool season, we need to start preparing now for September. I'd encourage you to go to my main channel, which is the Lawn Care Nut on YouTube, and check out a video I put out just a week ago, which is all about just breaking down the strategy. What is fertilizer? What do we use it for? What are micronutrients? How important is mowing, or what we call cultural practices, and all those things, to kind of break it down short and concise to help you understand what a lawn care program is all about. That said, this time of year, those of you folks with Kentucky Bluegrass, turf type tall fescue, and perennial ryegrass lawns, you need to start thinking about the fall. Now, just so you guys know, primarily in the fall, we're going to talk a lot about aeration and overseeding, but I did want to say one thing before I get too far. A lot of you guys here that listen to this are on year 2, 3, even 4. I mean, I've been doing YouTube now for 10 years. And in fact, Chris Voigt from Wisconsin, send me that spotted cow, Chris, reminded me that it's now this month, it's been exactly 10 years since I started on YouTube. I think it actually might be somewhere around August 10th or 11th, exactly 10 years. So what that means is a lot of you folks in the audience here, you've actually been working on your lawn for several years. And I'm just going to tell you, you don't have to aerate and overseed your lawn every single year. In fact, my lawn in Northwest Indiana, I moved in there and seeded it on fresh, bare ground in 2004 and 2005. The only time that I ever aerated it was once in like 2008, and that's because I was out in my True Green truck. I worked at the Maryville, Indiana branch, which was only a couple miles from my house there in St. John, Crown Point, right on the border, over by 93rd and Klein, over by there. And so I was out doing aerations. I happened to have the aerator, so I went and aerated my lawn. But other than that, I never aerated that lawn in Northwest Indiana. It never needed it. It was thick. It was healthy. It was beautiful. Just didn't need it. So the first thing I want to say is, listen, if your lawn is thick and vigorous and growing and healthy, it probably doesn't need to be aerated, and it definitely doesn't need to be seeded. There are times, though, when you've either had struggles this year or you're in year one and your work in the spring got you so far down the line, and then summer kind of lagged a little bit, which you guys are going to see a lot of, and then fall is a time to go ahead and get another gear, put the icing on the cake. That's when the aeration and overseeding becomes important. So I just want you to know, as we move forward here, I'm going to talk a lot about seeding. In fact, that's what most of today's podcast is about seeding and grass seed and cost of grass seed and when to put it down and how to put it down and soil temps and all that kind of really fun stuff that we go over. But if you're somebody that doesn't need to seed, please don't think you have to just because everyone else is. Save the money and go towards more of a pre-emergent strategy and push it hard with FERT. We'll be talking a lot more about that as time comes up. But for now, I got to talk to those of you that are getting ready to seed, so that way we can make sure we set you up for success here. It's funny because this last weekend I was in Northwest Indiana visiting my sons. Now they rent a house there in Munster, and my oldest son Nick has started to become a lawn care nut. It's funny because especially back in the spring when everybody's lawn looks good, he actually started working on how to stripe it. He got the sun patterns right. He would send me pictures of him sitting out there after mowing his lawn, looking at his stripes. He'd have a nice cold brew on the back deck there, and so it was really fun to see that. But summer has really taken a turn for him, and again, he's brand new. He's in his mid-20s. He's never owned a lawn before. In fact, this one's just a rental, so it's fun for him to experiment on. So when I was up there this last weekend, we actually did a few things, and I'm going to show you that in this weekend's video coming up on the Lawn Care Nut channel, so make sure you subscribe over there and check that out. I'm going to show you how terrible his lawn looks, what it's come through in the summer, what kind of struggles it's having. It looks a lot like the struggles that a lot of you are having that I see from pictures in our Facebook group, and we did a couple things, so I'm going to publish all that footage here this weekend, and then you can follow along because he's sending me pictures now every single day. I've got him doing that, of the progress of the lawn. So that'll be something really fun to follow along with and to watch with. Now, what that does bring me up to is I want to offer a little bit of encouragement to you all. I was in the Facebook group yesterday, and somebody and a new member posted in there a picture of his lawn, and it didn't actually look that bad to me. It had a few brown spots or here and there or whatever, cool season lawn, but it looked like most cool season lawns do in summer. Now, the challenge is he felt like he had failed. He felt like, wow, I was doing really well in the spring. I did everything right. I did everything I was told to do. Bulletproof strategy with fungicide, got my FERT down, mow twice a week, watering right. And he still had some struggles. He still had some areas that, just didn't look as good as he wanted them to. Again, it didn't look that bad to me, but, again, when you're somebody that has to live with that lawn and look at it all the time, you're going to notice a lot of things that other people don't. The long and the short of it was I wanted to encourage him and say, and I'm going to encourage you and say too, listen, cool season lawns don't do well when you have heat waves over 90. They just don't. Some of you are fortunate in that you've been working on your lawn for a while. You have a deep, healthy root system. You've got a lot of good organics down in your soil, which help retain moisture naturally. A lot of good soil organisms in there moving around. The homeostasis, we talked about that in a video recently. Homeostasis is intact. Everything is in good balance. And therefore, the soil and the turf and the root system and all of that together, it can handle some extremes. I have said before and used analogies before, it's like training a professional wrestler. You train that wrestler, and when they're first new to wrestling and you take them to a tournament, you're not sure how they're going to fare. You don't know how they're going to end up doing. You don't know how they're going to come through and face the challenges. But once you've been working with your son for a long time and he's been wrestling for, say, 8, 9, or 10 years even, or in this case with the lawn, it only takes 2 or 3 years, you know you can take him into any tournament and he's going to be able to face any opponent and he's going to be able to come out with the victory. And you and your lawn will get there too eventually. And the times when your lawn is not coming through in a victory or when it's struggling, that's why you, the coach, are there to help coach it along. So the long and the short of it is, if you're in my groups or if you're anywhere on Facebook and you see all these beautiful lawns being posted, I want you to understand not everybody has a perfect lawn. It makes only sense. It's social media, right? And I've mentioned this before in the podcast. No one is going to post an ugly picture of their lawn on Instagram and go, look, I put all of this hard work into my lawn and it looks like garbage now. They're just not going to do that. And so one of the things that can happen is if you keep looking at all these beautiful lawn pictures, and I'm guilty of it too, you can think you're the only one that doesn't have a beautiful lawn. So just wanted to offer you that little bit of encouragement here as we get started for the week. I want you to know something though. Fall is a time when everything can recover. And that's what we want to look forward to now. Seeding, no seeding, aeration, no aeration. Cool temperatures will prevail. Mild weather is great for cool season lawns, especially Kentucky bluegrass. It thrives when outside temperatures get under 80, and that's where we're heading here very quickly. Now, we're going to talk a lot about temperatures today. Don't confuse outside air temperatures with soil temperatures. Even though one will help dictate the other, you got to kind of understand a difference and listen, and I'll do my best to clarify here as we go to our first and main question of the week. This is Steven from Fishers, Indiana.
Hey, Alan, this is Steven from Fishers, Indiana. I was just calling with a question regarding overseeding. I am planning on running an aerator here at first or second week of September once my window opens up, and aerating and overseeding. And I just had a question regarding my lawn's primarily Kentucky blue and perennial rye. And I was wondering if it's worth spending the extra money to buy. All the Seed Superstore has a sunny mix that they recommend for my area. And I was wondering if I'd be able to really notice a difference with overseeding with their type of seed as opposed to getting like a bag of Scott's seed for Kentucky blue and that. Because I noticed it's about a third of the price of what it is from Seed Superstore. Since I was just overseeding, if I would actually be able to notice a difference, or if it's better to just spend more money on that seed if I'm just doing from a new lawn as opposed to overseeding. So if I could just get your thoughts on that. Thank you. Appreciate all that you do. Bye.
All right, Steven, this is a great question, and this is going to help a lot of people. And the first thing I want to say is great job planning ahead. This is exactly what I like you guys to do, is start thinking out your strategy, start weighing your options, thinking about not only what the work is, but the budget that you're going to put into it, because it's important to know exactly what you're spending on your lawn. It'll just help you to appreciate it more and understand where you're going. It'll also help you set the tone for the future on how you're progressing. So excellent job thinking through this, Steven, and we're going to go a little bit deeper than you even asked, but we are going to get to the end where we answer your question about the different types of grass seed available. But the first thing let's do is, because Steven mentioned his seeding window, so I want to kind of clarify to all of you what that is, because Steven's obviously looking at the plans and understanding that he's coming up on his seeding window, and in fact in Fishers, Indiana, he's pretty close here just within a few weeks, and that's why he's planning ahead right now. So the first thing I want you to understand is when you're going to go to seed your lawn, you need to have a 45-day window. Now, please understand that what I tell you here, these are not hard and fast rules. You can break these rules all you want. I tend to give you the most conservative advice that I can. In other words, I'm trying to appeal to the masses. I have people in this audience that are super duper brand new, and I have other people that are very much experienced. If you're more experienced, you can do a lot of things outside the lines. You can color outside the lines and make beautiful artwork. However, if you're brand new, it's always best to stay inside the lines, follow the best practices, and set yourself up for success the best way you can. But either way you go, at the end, we're all hoping for the best. So that being said, 45 days is the seeding window that you want. So let's kind of talk through that a little bit. The first thing to think about is with cool season turf is it's going to germinate. Now listen, germination doesn't mean you see it. Typically, seed's going to germinate under the ground. It's, within an inch of the top, but it'll germinate under the ground and you won't see it. You don't actually see the sprouts for several hours to a day or two, But either way, it's going to take a good 5 to 10 days before you are going to see those baby grass plants, as Grass Daddy likes to call them, as baby grasses. You will likely see those between 5 and 10 days. Now, it's kind of interesting because back in the day when I worked for ChemLawn, I mean, way back, we typically didn't seed with Kentucky Bluegrass much because it always took 20 to 21 days to be able to see the seedlings of Kentucky Bluegrass. And in fact, I can remember I lived in Griffith, Indiana, and I bought a Scott's mix, 100% blue mix, and I don't know what the cultivars were in it. I was never that funky fresh with it way back then, but I know it was 100% Kentucky Bluegrass, and I put it in a bunch of spots in my house in Griffith, Indiana, and watered every single day, did the whole thing. I used a little bit of seeding mulch to cover it up, which is the, ground up paper stuff that absorbs water and this and this and that, and I did it all perfect. And I remember watering it every day, day 5, day 10, day 15, nothing. And I'm like, man, did this fail? What is going on here? Day 20, day 21, finally I start to see a few, little baby grasses coming up there, and then from there it grew. But I remember that 3 weeks was painful for me, and I was somebody that was in the business. I kind of touted myself as knowing what I was doing, and I started to lose confidence. And even now, when I talk to guys that have been in the business for a long time, they will say, be careful with recommending seeding Kentucky Bluegrass because Kentucky Bluegrass takes so long to germinate. And what can happen is people that are inexperienced, or even me, when I did have some experience, you think it didn't work. You think something failed. You think it washed away. You think it died. You think birds ate it, when really it just takes 21 days for Kentucky Bluegrass to germinate and show itself. However, I was watching a series of videos on YouTube here recently, and you guys could check out this channel. It's called Shortcut Lawn. It's a guy out in the central coast of California, and he did a Kentucky Bluegrass seeding on his lawn. Now, he did a complete burn down and start over, and he did a complete seeding there, and he actually had germination and showing baby grasses within 5 days, Kentucky Bluegrass, and he did pure Kentucky Bluegrass. So what that tells me is that since I worked for ChemLawn, that's been a good 15, 20 years ago or so, that since I worked there, the cultivars or the varieties or the science or the GMOs, I don't really know what it is, but they're doing something that is allowing that Kentucky Bluegrass or forcing it to germinate a lot quicker than it normally would. I don't know if they're freezing it and then sending it to stores. I don't really know. There's all kind of tricks and stuff, but if somebody knows, how come Kentucky Bluegrass seed is germinating in 5 days now when 15 years ago the entire Kentucky Bluegrass seeding world knew it took 21 days, one of you will have to tell me what the difference is. But aside from that little rant right there, just know that it's going to be 5 to 10 days from the day you plant, as long as you start watering right away, for you to see baby grass. Perennial ryegrass will definitely come up at the 5-day mark. Kentucky Bluegrass, well, according to Shortcut Lawn in his video, 5 days, but I'm still going to say Kentucky Bluegrass is going to be closer to 10 days. And then sometime in the middle is the turf-type tall fescue. 5 to 10 days to start seeing baby grass. So we're kind of marking time now here through our 45 days. So at the end of 10 days, most of your grass seed should have come up. Now think about this, though. There are what we call late bloomers or late starters, just like with your kids, right? Some kids are talking sooner than others. Some kids can read in kindergarten. Some can't read until 2nd grade. Maybe that's a little long, but you get the analogy. Everybody has their own pace, and the same is with grass seed. Now, with grass seed, it can be environmental. One area might get a little bit more water than another. Sometimes the seeds might be planted a little bit deeper than others. Sometimes the seed might have gotten foot traffic or moved. There's a lot of different reasons why seed will germinate over different time frames, but just know, sometime around that 10 to 12-day mark, most of it should be up. However, keep watering hard because even through day 15, 16, 17, some of that slower grass seed, some of those late bloomers will still be coming up. So you still want to keep watering hard all the way through day 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, all the way up through there. Now, from day 15 to 20, all the way up to day 30, what we really want is we want the lawn to grab sunlight. All of that new grass that's coming up, the reason it's putting up those green grass blades is because those green grass blades are big old satellite dishes that just suck up sunlight, so that way the grass can start making its own sugars. It's going to live off what's in the seed for only so long, and it needs to set roots, and it needs to set blades or grass blades so that it can grab sunlight and start the process of photosynthesis, which is what's going to help it to thicken up, which is what's going to help it to get dense, which is what's going to help it to start pushing rhizomes if it's Kentucky Bluegrass, for example. So the thing about that is from day 15 all the way to 30, you need to keep watering and let the grass grow. Now, typically at day 30 to 35 with cool season lawn, that's when you can do your first mowing. And don't be afraid of it. Don't be scared of it. Get out there and do it. The grass will be fine. It'll come back. Sure, you might trample a little bit here and there, but that's just how things work. Survival of the fittest. Get out, get on, get off, and mow it day 30 to 35. Then from there, you're going to have another 10 days to day 45, and at day 40 to 45, that's your second mowing. Once again, mow again, be quick about it, get on, get off, and you should be good. That's your 45 days. Now, the reason the 45 days matters is because of that 2 mowings. If you look at a lot of different labels on products, they will tell you to not apply this product to new seedings until you've had 2 mowings, where they'll say until you have a dense turf stand or an established turf stand and or 2 mowings. The reason the 2 mowings matter is because that tells you that the grass has established itself at least to the point where it can live on its own. It can sustain itself. It's got enough of a root system and enough grass blades up there to grab sun that it should be cycling and growing and in a growth mode and healthy. Some might use the term that it's hardened off. And that's important because after 2 mowings is typically, especially if we're seeding here in the fall, you're coming up to a weather extreme, and that weather extreme is called winter. And winter is a weather extreme, the exact opposite of the weather extreme in the middle of summer, which most of you are just coming out of. And grass does not do well in extremes. That's why it goes dormant in the winter, and if you don't water it in the summer, or even if it gets too extreme, it will turn brown and go dormant in summer. That's what grass does. It checks itself out. It hibernates. It says, hey, this is way too much for us to handle. Let's just suck ourselves in. Let's close ranks. Let's protect the crowns here. Let's keep the crown alive, and we'll wait for more mild temperatures, more favorable weather, and then we'll start growing again. And that's what winter does. It shuts the grass down. So after 2 mowings, you can typically understand or typically feel confident that your grass is established enough to survive the coming winter. So that's why you need a 45-day window for seeding cool season lawns. Now, as far as when to seed, there are logical times when you should seed and logical times when you shouldn't. The best times to seed are when soil temperatures are between, and I'm going to say it this way because we're going into fall, are between 70 degrees and 55 degrees. That's the window that you want to look for. Now, if you were going to seed in the spring, it would be the opposite. You would seed when soil temperatures reach 55, and you'd want to make sure that your window closes when they reach 70. Where on the flip side, in the fall, you want to start seeding when soil temperatures are approaching 70, and know that the end of your 45-day window needs to be sometime around the time when soil temperatures hit 55. Those are your windows. That's your 45. I think it's pretty logical to think you would not seed during an extreme time of winter, like in Fishers, Indiana, where they get snow and the ground freezes. I was stationed at Fort Benjamin Harrison in the very early 90s. I went to the Defense Information School there. I think that base is closed now. In fact, I'm sure it is. It's closed now. You can still drive around it and everything. I think the commissary might still be there too. Y'all let me know, and they turned some of the dorms into condos. But the long and the short of it is, I know that they get a lot of snow. I know that their ground freezes, and you don't want to seed the lawn when it's frozen. I mean, that makes sense, right? People talk about dormant seeding, but just don't do it. It's just not a good idea. The flip side would be the same in the middle of the summer. Can you seed in the middle of the summer? You sure can, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. But the key is to not seed during the extremes. So that leaves you with spring and fall, and of those 2 choices, fall is the best. The reason that I want you to seed in the fall rather than the spring is because in the fall, you put your seed down, you got your 45-day window, everything grows good, and then winter comes in and shuts everything down, and you're done. You don't have to worry about any weeds or anything like that invading or taking over because winter shuts all of them down too. Now, there is the case of fall annuals. That's a whole nother thing we're going to go into. Henbit, Poa annua, hairy bittercress, all those kind of things. We're not going to get quite into that so much, but the fall is still the best time to seed because, again, winter shuts all the competition down for you so you can start back up again in spring. Whereas when you seed in the spring, you got to wait for the temperatures to come up right out of winter. When they hit 55, you go ahead and seed. But the other thing that's growing in the spring, because everybody's coming out of winter, so everybody's trying to gain ground, gain traction, gain roots, gain more leaves. Broadleaf weeds are spreading out. Dandelions. The other thing you have is crabgrass germinating. Crabgrass is trying to gain a foothold, and crabgrass is a much bigger problem, and dandelions are a much bigger problem, and clover that comes in is a much bigger problem. So what happens in spring when you seed is you can't do anything to control any of those weeds because any pre-emergent or post-emergent that you put down can kill your young grass. So what you have to do is contend with that all year. It's better to wait till fall when temperatures are more mild. Most weeds are starting to shut down. Yes, there are a few that will germinate, but you can really concentrate on getting that grass looking good, getting that grass growing, getting that grass healthy, and then let winter just shut everything down for you. So Stephen being in Fishers, Indiana, it's basically Indianapolis, he is checking out his seeding window. when is the best time? So as I mentioned, you want to start in the fall. When you're ready to seed, you want to get your grass seed down as soil temperatures are falling to 70. So right now, as I look at Fishers, Indiana, I just did this just today. Currently, right now, August 8th, Fishers, Indiana, current soil temp is 79 degrees. If you want to know how I got that, I went to the GreenCast Tool. Just go on Google and search GreenCast online or GreenCast soil temperatures. They have a nice tool you can put in your zip code, and it will tell you the current soil temps. Now, again, those are averages for the area. It's not exact. You can always get your own soil thermometer and take your own readings because your own lawn will vary. Shady spots will be cooler than hot spots. Spots by the driveway will be hotter than areas in the middle of the lawn. But the long and the short of it is we're just looking for a window here. We're looking for a target to aim at. We don't have to hit it perfect. We're going to use logic. And the GreenCast tool tells us that currently in Fishers, Indiana, it's 79 degrees. And that's why it's smart for Steven to start looking ahead. Now, that's the current soil temp. What you can do, though, with that is you can move the tool back to 2018 and look at the soil temp last year at this exact same time. Now, the other thing that that'll do, though, when you move it back to last year is it'll give you the 5 and 10-year averages for that area. So as I do that, I'm going to try to find when is the average temperature in Fishers, Indiana, going to be 70 degrees? Again, this is soil temperature. I'm going to play with the tool until I find the most logical spot and date that tells me the 5 and or 10-year averages for Fishers, Indiana. The soil is 70 degrees. And when I do that, I find that it's September 10th. Now, if you're on YouTube, I'll put these screenshots up for you. You can see them. But again, just go to the GreenCast tool and play around with it, and you'll be able to pick up what I'm putting down here. And so on September 10th, I can see 2018, the temperature on September 10th was 64. That's a little low. But the 5-year average, because again, we want to make sure we're looking at the average soil temps, not one single year. The average soil temp from 2014 to 2018 in Fishers, Indiana on September 10th is 69 degrees, and the 10-year average, which is 2009 to 2018, is 69.8. So I would say Fishers, Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, Central Indiana, whatever you want to call it, your optimum time to seed is sometime leading up to September 10th. And obviously, Steven's done his homework because that's exactly what he said in his call, the first couple weeks of September. So just know by using that GreenCast tool, when you notice your historic soil temps are approaching 70, that's when you want to seed. Probably somewhere a week to 10 days ahead of that goal is when you want to seed. Now, if you have an outlier, it can happen that all of a sudden we get a cold spell. Well, that's when you need to be able to bob and weave and try to, adjust a little bit. But just realize these windows are fairly consistent over the years. So if you do have an outlier, if you do have a little bit of a strange year, just know that's why we hope for the best. We take all the available data that we have here and we try to make the best decision we can. We make the best guess, our educated guess. And by the way, this is one of the advantages that you as a homeowner have over somebody that's allowing a professional to do it. A professional cannot get to everyone's lawn on the exact day, a week before September 10th in Fishers, Indiana. Not going to happen. They have to kind of move things over time. They have to start a little bit early and finish a little bit later. Does that mean they're doing something wrong? No, they get great results and they have for years. But you as a homeowner, you have one job and that's one lawn and you can hit it perfect. And that's your advantage being a DIYer. So go ahead and take the time, look up these dates. It's fun to do it anyway. I promise you, as you start looking at the soil temps, things will start coming more clear to you, especially if you have one of my guides. You'll be like, oh, that's what that means. That's why that means that. And then also this next week, I'm going to send out an email that kind of details this a little bit more to back up this podcast. So definitely look for that in your email. And if you're not on my free email list, make sure you go to thelawncarenut.com and sign up today. So if we know that September 10th is our ideal time to start seeding, or actually a week to 10 days before that, now what we want to do is just make sure, well, does my 45 days work out there? Does my 45-day window still hold water? So what I do is I take the GreenCast tool and I advance it up into October. And I'm just looking at different dates. And as I do that, what I'm able to see is that the 5 and 10-year averages will toggle a little bit here and there. And I look for that best window. And as I do that for Fishers, Indiana, it looks to me like right around October 20th is when soil temperatures begin to dip to 55. Now, why is 55 the end point? That's because most cool season lawns, when the soil temperatures get below 55, they're going to shut off. There is a little bit of growth there. And in fact, as long as the soil is not frozen, there's always some kind of activity happening there. But below 55, the lawn stops putting in top growth and it just starts to conserve. And so that's how you know that 55 is a good point, because your new grass is just not going to mature very much further, if any, once soil temps reach that 55. Now, obviously, it can go up and down and all kinds of things can happen. But again, we're looking for that historical mark. And Fishers, Indiana, as of October 20th, the 5-year average is 56 degrees and the 10-year average is 53.6. So it tells me that October 20th is my window. Now the question becomes, is that 45 days? And if I take September 10th, but I'm going to back that up 1 week. Remember, you want to go a week to 10 days before your soil temps historically hit 70. So we'll call it, just to make my math easy, September 1st, all the way until October 20th. That's actually, how many days is that? 30? That's 50 days. So I've actually got a 5-day pad there in my window, but that's pretty much perfect. So Stephen, thanks for calling in from Fishers in Indiana, where you made the window perfect. But I guarantee you that every one of you, or the majority of you, unless you're extreme north or extreme south in the transition zone, you'll be able to work a very similar little structure here. Just funny how that all works out. Everything just all comes together in nature like that. So I encourage you to do that for yourself using the GreenCast tool. Now, there's one other thing that I want to do, though, because the soil temps dictate some things, but as I mentioned very early on in the podcast, you also want to watch your outside temperatures, because a lot of times outside temperatures can fluctuate without changing the soil temperature very much, especially if things dip here and there on outside temperatures. And so the next thing we want to do is look at our first frost dates. Now, there's also something to look at. There's a difference in a frost and a hard freeze. A hard freeze is what's going to kill baby grass, and that's really what you're worried about. However, frost can also stunt it, damage it, slow it down, or whatever. So we want to make sure that even though we've got our 45 days, we still want to check when is our first frost date, and then how does that maybe coincide with when we might get our first hard freeze, because definitely a hard freeze shuts down all the growth. Everything stops. And again, if things are not hardened off, if their skin isn't thick enough, if those grass toddlers haven't gotten tough, they can be damaged by that too. So here I go to almanac.com, and almanac.com actually has the typical first frost dates. And so I put in Fishers, Indiana 46038, and what it tells me is that the first frost is on average going to be October 12th in Fishers, Indiana, October 12th. Now remember, the end of my window was October 20th, and I had 5 days of padding in there. So if you back that up to October 15th, that means that probably, historically speaking, the first frost, now what is a frost? I'm going to read that to you in a minute, but typically the first frost is going to come somewhere right at the end of that 45 days, and that's fine. That's my second mowing, and that's when I can feel confident that everything is good. Now, let me just talk a little bit here about the difference in a freeze and a frost, and I'm just going to go to almanac.com here once again. That's ALMANAC, almanac.com. What is the difference between a freeze and a frost? I'm just going to read right from their website, just so you understand the difference here. A frost refers to the conditions that allow a layer of ice crystals to form when water vapor condenses and freezes without first becoming dew. Frost may happen when the surface air temperature, officially measured at 4 or so feet above the ground, is below the 36 degree Fahrenheit mark. So just think about it. Frost is going to come at 4 feet above the ground, getting below 36. Now, the thing you'll know about frost is that it burns off as soon as the sun hits it. In fact, I remember in the days back working for True Green, I worked over by Northwest Indiana, which is a couple hours north of Fishers, but the same thing. We would have frost on the ground in the mornings in October, but we were still doing applications. We would just start a little bit later in the day. We'd wait for the frost to burn off, because obviously if there's ice crystals hanging on the grass and it's in the shade, you don't want to step on that, because that can definitely damage it. But we knew that the frost wasn't going to really damage the turf, especially if it was new, old, whatever. You just didn't want to walk on it. So a frost is not necessarily going to be a problem if you're towards the end of your 45-day window. However, here's back to almanac.com, a freeze can happen when the surface air temperature falls to 32 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Now that's the surface air, not 4 feet above, but the surface, so much closer down where our grass is. Frost may or may not form. A light freeze between 32 and 29 can kill tender plants, in this case, tender toddler grass. A moderate freeze between 28 and 25 degrees Fahrenheit, sometimes called a hard freeze, can cause wide destruction to plants. And then there's a severe freeze, which is 24 degrees or below. Now, your grass, your new grass that you're growing, will be able to handle 24 degrees or below if it's been past that 2 mowings. Now, the other thing that can happen is if you're, if there's a weather extreme, like an immediate drop and it never comes back up, that can cause problems, but that'll cause a lot of problems with a lot of things. Typically, we don't go there. We dip in, dip out, go up, go down. There's terms like Indian summer, which is an extended summer. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that anymore, if that offends people, but you get what I'm saying, like extended summer, early winter, all of these things. You can't control any of that. All you can do is, like I say, control the controllables and make sure that you have your 45-day window intact and know these facts. So definitely go to almanac.com and look at when your annual first frost date is, because that can be an indicator that soon after that, you may need to be concerned about a freeze. Now, I was in the Facebook group yesterday, and one guy said, Alan, I appreciate what you're saying here, but what about the summer? He says, you know what? I'm going to seed in the summer anyway, and I loved it. I told him, I said, dude, I love it. I actually secretly root for you guys when you break the rules. I just want to say, you can seed in the summer, you can seed in the middle of the summer, and your grass will germinate. The challenge that you have in the summer is just as I've just been warning you about extreme freezes and cold, in the middle of the summer, you have a problem with an extreme heat stress. So just like we've been seeing all summer here, we've had temperatures over 90, and even healthy turf, even non-healthy turf, but established turf is checking out. Especially if it doesn't get enough water, it'll check out quick. Around edges, it'll check out quick, and it'll go into summer dormancy. And if it's left there for a long time, it can cause some damage. Now, I don't see a lot of long-term damage happening this year from our heat phases, but it's definitely something that's stressing some of you guys out. But imagine that baby toddler grass that's just come up. It's looking for some nourishment. It's looking for some soft sunshine, and all of a sudden it gets destroyed with bright, heavy sunlight, no cloud cover, 90-degree temperatures. It doesn't have the root structure, and it doesn't have the chutzpah. It doesn't have the thick skin, the leathery skin to get through that heat. And what can happen is all the investment that you put into that grass seed can be for naught because it can be killed in the heat. So yes, definitely you can seed in the middle of the summer. However, I don't recommend it. I recommend you wait for this 45-day window, which begins when soil temperatures are falling to 70, a week to 10 days before that, and ends when soil temperatures fall below 55 in the soil. Follow those best practices, and as always, my friends, let's hope for the best. Okay, now let's get into the second part of the question that Stephen was asking about, and that's about the grass seed. So he has been on Seed Superstore. I've worked with Seed Superstore for a long time, as far as I don't make money off them or anything, but I've just always referred them. And then also you've seen me in videos. I use Scott seed or whatever else. I'm not really partial one way or the other, but let me explain to you about different seed and where you get it and what it means. Let me give you kind of a generic way that I break it down. When it comes to buying grass seed, I have 3 classifications. The first being what I would call big box store seeds. So that's your Scotts, your Pennington, stuff you can go get at Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, that kind of stuff, right? Nothing wrong with that. Good quality. A company like Scotts or Pennington would not sell junk, especially grass seed. By the way, there's a reason that there's no lawn care nut grass seed. I plan to hopefully never put my name on grass seed. It's just one of those things I learned my lesson on a long time ago. There's too much homeowner involvement that has to take place for grass seed to succeed, and it's just one of those things that I just don't feel comfortable about being able to get out enough content about it to make sure that the majority of people succeed. So I let other people put their name on seed, and I'll just recommend theirs. You can say that however you want to look at it. But with that, though, the big box store works just fine because Pennington and Scotts don't want to tarnish their good name. Then at the top end of the market, you have what I call boutique seed suppliers, and that's what Seed Superstore is. Drew goes to Oregon or wherever he gets his seed from, and he talks to seed growers, and he goes to those NTEP trials, and he looks at this and he looks at that, and he will get the newest, latest, and greatest stuff. Better drought tolerance, better dark color, better this, better that, better disease resistance, better in shade, better, all these different things, right? All these trials that go through, because just like pharmaceutical companies are always trying to make a better drug to cure whatever your problem is, the grass seed companies are doing the same thing, or the turf companies are doing the same thing. They're always trying to brew a better grass, make a stronger cultivar, make a better variety, perform here better, perform there better, grow slower, grow faster, grow thicker, grow healthier. Whatever it is, they're always trying to improve it. And that's what Drew does from Seed Superstore is he gets those highest improved varieties, he puts those into blends, and he sells them to you. However, that comes at an extreme cost, and we're going to talk about that a little bit going forward. Now, in the middle, though, there are what I would call landscape suppliers, and these are places that, if you think about it, a landscaper or even a True Green Chem Lawn who does thousands of overseeds every year out of every branch office that they do, they're not going and buying Scotts at Home Depot. They're going to go to a landscape supply like a Site 1, and they're buying 50-pound bags. Or what they're really doing is they're having them trucked in on trucks and its pallets and everything else, right? So there's those kind of suppliers, and we know one of those suppliers very, very well, and that is Pete from GCI Turf Academy. Pete's got a turf type tall fescue blend. I think it might have a little Kentucky blue in it. I haven't looked at his blends specifically in a while, but I have seen all the great results that folks in our group have gotten. And I do highly recommend and highly endorse Pete from GCI Turf Academy. I endorse his grass seed. It's high quality. You can see his lawn was grown with his grass seed. So he's what I would call that in-between supplier. And what you can get with that in-between supplier is you can get some stuff that's a little bit better. It's than the box store. It's a little bit cooler, a little bit more fancy. I'm using, general terms here, but maybe it's not quite as boutique, as something that came out of the NTEP trial 10 minutes ago and Drew bought the only 10 cases of it they had, right? So you can see there's that in-between there. So that's how you kind of want to look at things back and forth, is which one of these seed suppliers am I going to go for? And a lot of times the first thing you'll look at is budget. So I went on seedsuperstore.com and I looked at, I think it's his Kentucky Bluegrass or his Sunny Mix. I'll put it up on the screen here. But basically it's 25 pounds is $175. Now that's with delivery. So think about that. $175 for 25 pounds is $7 per pound. That's what you're going to pay on Seed Superstore for the super cool boutique seed that no one else has, that has better color, better performance, better this, better that, all around better boutique seed. $7 a pound. He tells you that the seeding rate for overseeding, which is what Steven is doing here, there's a little bit different rate sometimes if you're starting a new lawn, but Steven's doing an existing lawn that he's going to aerate and he's going to overseed. So the overseeding rate on that is 4 pounds per thousand. That means it costs you $28 per thousand. If you have a 5,000 square foot lawn, it's going to cost you $140 for your overseed. So 5,000 square foot lawn with the boutique seed is $140. Now listen, he's got stuff that's even more expensive than that, but I think that's his general mix that he sells, and it works good. I've used it before. It works just fine. Now let's contrast that to a Scott's Sun and Shade mix. It's something I could find online here. 7 pounds is $20. So that means then it's $2.85 a pound. By the way, the other thing you're going to find at the big box store that it's tougher to find online are very small quantities. You can go to a big box store and get a 3-pound bag. It's really hard to find a 3-pound bag of seed online that's affordable. That's just the way shipping works out. Trust me, I know all about that. Shipping kind of messes you up. Let me just tell you this. The shipping business is definitely geared for Amazon and anyone trying to get into it. It ain't easy. We're figuring it out, though. UPS, throw me a bone here, brother. But either way, Scott's Sun and Shade, 7 pounds, $20. That's $2.85 a pound. If we go at the same rate of 4 pounds per thousand, it'll cost you $11.40 per thousand, or $57 to overseed your 5,000 square foot lawn. So some of you right there are going to go one way or the other based on cost. Boutique seed, the best you can get, $140 for a 5,000 square foot lawn overseed. Or Scott's Sun and Shade, good quality, easy to get. You can go right to the store and get it tomorrow, is going to be $57 for a 5,000 square foot lawn. Now, I didn't work the math on Pete's seed because this is turf type tall fescue, but you guys can kind of understand how I'm doing this and look at it from here and understand what it might cost you if maybe you went for that landscaper supply option. But here's the other thing to look for, and this is what Steven was really asking, is he's like, Alan, is it worth it for me to go, I'm assuming he has a 5,000 square foot lawn, or at least he does for this podcast. He's saying, Alan, is it worth it for me to spend the $140 on the boutique seed to overseed my existing lawn, or should I just go with the $57? Am I going to notice a difference? And here is my thought on that. Now, it's really going to depend on how old your lawn is. Fishers has a lot of new construction. I'm going to assume you're new at construction. So if you're new construction and your lawn was sodded or seeded within the last 10 years or so, you probably have some pretty decent cultivars. You probably have some newer stuff. This is in contrast to if your lawn is 100 years old and you have what I call an old school lawn. Either way, when you get that Scott seeds, you are going to be adding improved cultivars into your lawn. You will notice that, though, as you do it over time, you'll notice those improved cultivars improving your lawn if your lawn is old school and 100 years old versus if your lawn is newer and only 10 years old. But either way, anytime you're adding newer, fresher cultivars into your lawn, it's going to be helpful. Now, are you going to get a visual result? Probably not. And that goes whether it's the boutique seed or if it's the cheaper seed from Scott's. If you're overseeding an existing lawn, especially one that I'm assuming you've been working on here, it's sufficiently thick, it's not overall sparse and thin. If you add that grass seed to it, you're probably not going to notice much of a visual difference. That's where it goes to the boutique seed. I typically Only recommend the boutique seed if you're overseeding a lawn that is super thin, like we did in our project lawn last year. Jake and I in St. John, Indiana, we had a project lawn that had been hydro-seeded that spring and had not been taken care of. It was overall thin. It didn't look that good. We went ahead and used the boutique seed, superstore seed, because we wanted to get that good stuff in there to really push it. However, if your lawn is sufficiently thick, you're not going to see a difference there. Use the cheaper stuff. That's what I typically recommend. Don't spend the extra money on the boutique stuff unless you're really going all in with it. Now, if you're doing a complete start over, hey, that's when the boutique seed can come in, and definitely that's a way to dominate. If you want that expensive boutique seed because it's going to be deeper, darker color, that's the way to do it, but do that with a brand new lawn, not necessarily with an overseed. So a little bit of gray area there, but maybe when you look at your budget, maybe that can kind of help sway you one way or the other. But I just want to say there's nothing wrong with big box store seed. The one thing you want to look for, the main thing you want to look for when you go to a grass seed label, besides the date, you want to make sure that it wasn't, bottled too long ago. I mean, if the grass seed's over a year old, I probably wouldn't want to mess with that, especially if I didn't know where it's been sitting or how it's been cared for. So look at the date. But the other thing that you want to look at is you want to look at other crop. Now, it's going to have 0% noxious weed seeds on it. If you see that, you need to turn that in right away because I don't even think they're allowed to sell anything with noxious weeds, which would mean invasive plants that were found in there or invasive seed. But what you want to look for is other crop, because other crop is basically stuff that's not tested for. So you don't know what's in there. And guess what's not tested for? Poa annua, Poa trivialis. Not tested for. So if you see other crop at any percentage, I would probably stay away from that because I don't know what other crop you're actually putting into your lawn. And that's one of the challenges you have with seed in general at any time. Whenever you're adding seed to your lawn, do you really know what you're adding at 100%? There can always be mistakes made. There can always be errors. There can always be unforeseen things happen. So just know when you're adding seed into something, there's always a chance that you could be adding in something that you don't want. Now, if you have 0% other crop, more than likely, you're going to be okay. All right, with that, now I've got some related, lawn questions that came in that are kind of related to this seeding a little bit. But before we do that, I did have somebody write in this week and tell us about how lawn care has improved their lives or how lawn care has changed lives. And this one's just a little bit more chill. I think this one will appeal to a lot more of you because I think it really plays into how a lot of us feel about working on our lawn. This one comes from Brad H., and he's out of Virginia. And Brad says, "Hey, Alan, I'm writing in since I was listening to your podcast after purchasing one of your ebooks, and you threw out this ask from the community. I'm an Air Force vet and first-time homeowner that sort of fell into appreciating lawn care. I say sort of because all of my hobbies are related in that they involve natural materials and creating things. Before my 4 years active duty, I brewed beer, and I even won some home brew competitions. A few years later, living in Germany, got a chance to go to culinary school in Paris for 6 weeks. Also learned some awesome woodworking skills in Germany. Anyways, this is all of that to say that I am not the least bit surprised I graduated toward this community. Living in a clean and comfortable country allows us to gravitate to some nature and get our hands dirty. My day job is a web developer, which I enjoy for the creative aspect, but I always look forward to getting home and spending some time outside in the fresh air. Of course, it's not only the being outside aspect that we all enjoy, but the pride in creating something beautiful that is natural. Additionally, learning and diving into new things has always been exciting for me, and creating a social network around that is amazing. I have only been doing this for a few months, and one of the coolest moments has been while training for a Spartan race and doing burpees in my grass, noticing it's getting better. While doing these, I smiled, and if you've ever done 100 burpees straight, you know what it takes to break a smile. Looking forward to continuing this journey, and thank you for adding value. Stay nutty, Brad." Brad is definitely a Renaissance man. Goes to culinary school, learns how to do woodworking. Now he's a web developer. By the way, tons of web developers and engineers love lawn care. I've had guys even say, "Yeah, I like getting out into the blue room." I've heard that term used before. So awesome there. And now Brad's training for a Spartan race, and he's actually learning to appreciate his lawn while he's doing burpees in the grass. He notices the lawn getting thicker. And I guess if you're getting through 100 burpees, you need something to take your mind off of those 100 burpees, and looking at your grass and connecting with your land is a part of that. So Brad, thanks for writing in, letting us know how lawn care has made your life better, how you're really getting something out of it. And growing a lawn is, like you said, it's 100% rewarding, and I hope you get to enjoy the mow. Okay, so this next one is just kind of a little bit of something question. It's not really a question that came in, but it's something I always like to talk about this time of year. And that is that as we are going into fall, your lawn is naturally going to start to green up. Going back to those soil temperatures, as your soil temperatures begin to fall below 70, that means that outside air temperatures are going to be much more favorable for cool season lawns, existing lawns, to start kicking back into growth mode. If you look at a chart of top and root growth for a cool season lawn, you're going to see all the top and root growth happens in the spring and in the fall. Some charts will show a little bit more in spring than fall, but really to me it's about the same. All the growth happens in spring and fall, and that's when your mild temperatures are. So one thing that'll happen is if your lawn's been struggling all summer, whether it's got disease spots or dead poa annua or whatever it's got, or it's just gone dormant because you weren't able to water it enough or the heat got to it, what you're going to notice is some areas will start to green up and others will not. And when you see that, when you see other lawns around you in the neighborhood starting to green up, and yours too, and you have areas that are not greening up, that's when you want to get out and dig in those areas and look for grubs. One of the biggest things I see this time of year or coming into the fall is that lawns are greening up, and because they've been brown all summer, because they've been struggling all summer, you didn't really know what was causing that, and the grubs have been feeding all summer. They've just been having a party under there, and what will happen is those areas are dead, but you didn't notice because everything was brown, and you only notice, it only reveals itself, the dead spots do, as the rest of the lawn recovers, and those spots don't. So just a quick warning, as things start to green up, get out into your lawn, peel up those dead spots and look underneath. If you do have grubs, the lawn will peel up like carpet, but even if it doesn't, what I want you to do is go around the edges of the brown spot, dig underneath, and that's where you'll find the grubs because they're radiating out looking for more fresh roots. So when in doubt, in the fall, moving in, areas that don't green up, dig them out, take a look. All right, now our last one this week comes from Tim, and Tim is in Northeast Ohio. Hi, Alan. My name is Tim. I have purchased your Cool Season Lawn Guide and love learning how to dominate my neighbors. I live in Northeast Ohio and have new construction garbage dirt. With that being said, I have followed your guide and have actually established a really good lawn, with room to improve, of course. It is the landscaper's mix of seed, which is Kentucky Bluegrass, rye, and fescue. This is the lawn's third summer, and it's been doing well until this spring when I got plagued with a brown patch. We had a wet spring and didn't pick up on the signs, and the lawn telling me there was a problem until it was too late. Rookie mistake. I never treated with a fungicide and spent most of the early summer debating on what disease it actually was. Sadly enough, my lawn has fallen victim to the fungus. I never did treat it. My question is this: as I'm gearing up for my first ever fall renovation, or rejuvenation as Craig, one of our Facebook moderators, calls it, I am worried about the brown patch will harm the new grass I'm going to try to grow. I plan on aerating for the first time, 7 pounds per 1,000 overseed with a small dose of starter fertilizer and a normal app of Milo. Should I be worried about the fungus messing with new seed, or will it be too late in the year and the fungus isn't active? Thank you very much for putting out the great content. Thank you again. So this is a great question, and this is what I just want to say right now. For the majority of you, stop treating for fungus. We're now coming basically into the middle of August. We're coming into the fall. The cooler temperatures are going to start shutting everything down. Now, there are some fall-time diseases that can hit the lawn. I've seen rust and powdery mildew and stuff like that, but those are mostly problems with the leaf, and the lawn will grow out. Even if it does happen to get into your new grow, which likely it won't, it will grow out. You're going to have so much fert going down, pushing everything out. It'll push that out. However, brown patch should not be a problem going into the fall. So what I would say is you got to leave that behind. No more fungicides. Let's just let things rest right now. If you haven't treated it, let it rest, let it chill. Prepare for that aeration. Prepare for that overseed. If you want to put humic acid in the soil, yes. If you want to put some sea kelp in, which we call RGS, root growth stimulant, yes, you can do that. If you want to use the Aerate product to loosen up the soil, yes. If you want to use dethatch, which is something that'll eat up the dead spots, for sure right now, middle of the summer, yes, hose your lawn with the dethatch. Let it eat up all of that dead stuff that's in there, so that way when you get to fall, you can concentrate on your seed. But I would not be concerned about the brown patch doing anything to you in the fall. It's pretty much run its course. It's pretty much going to be shut down. Let's not put any more chems down right now as far as it goes to trying to kill that, and let's look forward to the future. So hope that answers your question there, Tim. You should be fine. Whatever happened in the summer happened. It's a learning experience for you. Now you know. And one thing for those of you that did have brown patch this year, what you want to do is you want to load your nitrogen in the fall and back your nitrogen down in spring. If you're somebody that fought with brown patch this year, that's for any lawn at all, but mostly for you guys with fescue. If you fought with brown patch at all this year, you should definitely plan to blow your lawn up with nitrogen this fall, push it hard, and then next spring go to a low nitrogen, higher micronutrient type program, because that will just help to keep the disease at bay. It's not going to be a foolproof plan to keep it out 100%, but it just won't feed it anymore. So brown patch folks, high nitrogen fall, low nitrogen in spring. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I'm sorry if this one was a little bit short, but I wanted to get through the seeding part because it's so important, and I know it's going to create a lot of questions. Don't forget, subscribe to my email list. I'll send out an email next Tuesday, and I'll kind of illustrate this in a little bit different terms. You'll be able to see it in writing. You'll be able to go back to this podcast and compare. It will definitely be a compliment for you. And of course, that's all free to you. Go to thelawncarenut.com and sign up for my weekly email. With that, I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the lawn.